He's only one of 5 players in Raiders history with at least 140 tackles.
I want to see a team play with that energy and play with that effort.
That defensive end is the best edge against the run that we've seen since he entered the league.
Hey, welcome to Upon Further Review, brought to you by Coors Light. I'm your host, Paul Gutierrez, and when it comes to the Raiders, they dropped their 9th straight game, 23-21 in Houston. 9th straight loss, like I said. They dropped to 2-13 on the season, but there are some positive things to look at here. I know there's no such thing as a moral victory, but there is a quality loss. There were a lot of highlights. A lot of young guys did some things. Ashton Jeanty had a monster game. The defense played well. Geno Smith had his best game since the opener. So to help me break down what just happened and what the Raiders are looking forward to coming up this week, we got James Jones going to join us here. And James, one of the positives I thought that came out of this, again, it's a loss. I get it. I understand that at the end of the day, you want to win a game. But we've been talking about this all season long. What is the identity of this team, especially offensively? I think we saw it, finally. Too little, too late?
You know, first off, Merry Christmas to you, my brother.
Same to you.
Second off, I've never heard that one before. I'm going to have to use that. Quality loss. I like that, though. No moral victories, but you're absolutely right, man. When you look at how Ashton Jeanty ran the ball, when you look at the play calling, when you look at the way the defense played and got after C.J. Stroud, I mean, the Texans is a true contender. The Texans have a big-time defense, a really good quarterback, a really good wide receiver out there, Nico Collins. They are a really good football team. We just seen what they did to Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. And for our team to go out there and Geno to play the way he played, obviously Ashton Jeanty in the pass game and the run game to do what he did, I thought it was a lot of positives to come out of this. And I truly believe that should be our identity. When I watched our offensive line in that game, they were so happy to lean on some people and run the ball and not be in pass set situations the whole game and people pushing on them. And you've seen at the end of the game, Ashton Jeanty is a tough tackle if we force people to try to tackle him all game long. So I love the game plan. I love the way, you know, some of the young players showed up and showed out and play. And then not only that, the energy and effort, too. I've been talking about energy and effort, you know, for the last 9 weeks. And I thought that defense and offense, you've seen people flying around. It was good to see, even in a quality loss.
A quality loss. And I guess part of it's a quality loss to fans is because they looked good, they played hard, they competed. And that's been Pete Carroll's mantra since he got here. Compete, compete, compete. They competed. They were within striking distance to win this game. Now you got another team coming in that's also riding a 9-game losing streak. The only other team that's 2-13. I remember when I was a kid, there was something called the Repus Bowl, which was the reverse of the Super Bowl because it was the two bottom teams, the two teams with the worst records in the league back in 1983, the old Houston Oilers, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm not going to say these are terrible teams, but this is kind of a battle for the number 1 spot. The loser has that inside track. Fans, kind of torn, players want to win. What are you seeing from this game that affects draft boards going down the line? I mean, when you're looking at the Raiders and a lot of needs, obviously, because of what the record is, who are some of the players that could jump out here as a result of what this game is going to present?
Well, first you want me to talk to you as a coach, or you want me to talk to you as a player?
Talk to me as a player first.
If I'm talking to you as a player, we care nothing about the draft.
Gotcha.
We care nothing about what's going on. All we care about is going out here and playing at a high level and going out there and showing people what we got and finishing this game strong. I've been on some really good teams. I've been on some really bad teams, and it always was the mindset of we got to go out there and finish, play with some heart, and get busy. You know what I'm saying? So as a player, I don't really care nothing about the draft. Now, for the big boys up front that's making all these decisions and all that type stuff, I need another pass rusher. I need another pass rusher to go on the other side of Max. I'm looking at Ruben Baines from Miami. I would love to pair him with Max Crosby. And not only that, if I was a GM, I'm going on one side of the ball. I'm not trying to go offense and defense. Listen, offense, we may struggle next year, but my defense is going to be legit. I am going to draft defense. I am going to free agent defense, and I am going to put together a really good defense, and offensively we'll find our way. Then next year, I'll go offense. That would be my plan. But this year, I would love to see us go get another pass rusher and Ruben Baines from Miami to go on the other side of Max Crosby to get after the passer. I would love to see that happen.
You know what's interesting about that is this is a wide receiver who once led the NFL in touchdowns, advocating for the defense to go get a defensive guy. And you've got, as we saw the list by Mel Kiper from ESPN, Dante Moore, quarterback from Oregon, is his number one prospect. Fernando Mendoza, Heisman Mendoza, he just won the Heisman Trophy for Illinois, the number one seed in the college football. So there's some quarterbacks. It's not really seen as a great year for quarterbacks coming in, but I do think it's still so intriguing that while so many fans and scouts are fixated on the quarterback and what the Raiders could do in the future at the position, we got a receiver advocating a defensive end, a pass rusher.
Even just watching it, right? Let's just go around the league and look at some of the best teams in the league, right? You got Drake May, who's playing well, but defense is playing lights out. You got Bo Nix, who's playing well, but defense is playing lights out. You know, the last couple Super Bowls with Patrick Mahomes, even when he was getting to, what do we all talk about? They were struggling scoring points. Chris Jones and that defense. I just feel like when you're able to put together a really good defense out there, sometimes you can come out and you can win games 17-10. You can win games 21-17. Like, you don't always have to score 30. Even when we won the Super Bowl with the Green Bay Packers, man, our defense was lights out. We had a top 10 defense, even though you had Aaron Rodgers. So quarterback, I know, is the most important position. But what we're learning now, man, if you ain't got a good defense to go with it, you ain't going to have a chance to win no games or get into the playoffs and win any Super Bowls. So I would love to see us get another big-time pass rusher to go on the other side of Max, some corners. I'm building the defense.
All right. And you also had a guy by the name of Charles Woodson, I believe, the NFL Defensive Player of the Year on that Super Bowl team.
Come on now.
So, and then when you're looking at this matchup, though, with the Giants, they've got with the record, they've got a fairly nice pass rush themselves. Burns, Lawrence, Carter, as far as the defense goes, what do you see? Again, now let's have you put your receiver hat back on here now. What are you seeing from this Giants defense? I mean, it's kind of the names they have, and they're still 2-13 also.
Yeah, and this Giants defense is got some big-time names on there, and you just mentioned a couple of them. And, obviously offensively they are struggling. They got a really, really young quarterback. Obviously he's a rookie. But defense, man, listen, I watched the Giants play a couple games this year, man, and that pass rush is going to come after you and get after you. So offensively, we are going to have the same approach we took with these two defensive ends last week or yesterday with Hunter and the big boy from Alabama. We are going to have to move Geno. We are going to have to run the football to slow down this pass rush, because if we let them get after us, it is going to be a very long day. I've seen them make it hard on a lot of quarterbacks, so if that's the case, we got to have a similar game plan than we had in Houston this weekend.
Yeah, Burns with 15 sacks, second in the NFL, 20 tackles for a loss, third in the NFL. I mean, they're getting after it defensively. They also have a little bit of a punishing run game as well. They're averaging over 125 yards per game on the ground, 18 rushing touchdowns. It's the sixth most in the NFL. We saw what the Raiders defense could do against Houston, and we saw Max Crosby chase down Chubb from 30 yards downfield and envelop him from behind. What does the Raider defense need to do to keep that ground game in check as well?
The same thing they did this past weekend. I thought we were really assignment sound. I thought we were really gap sound. When you watched them this weekend, I thought we played with a lot of effort. The defense was flying around, but guys were winning their one-on-ones. Like, we can't always depend on Max Crosby to beat the double teams and all that. When I watched George Kuntz and those guys this week, they were really beating their one-on-ones. And obviously you had White coming downhill making tackles, but we got to win our one-on-ones. We got to be a gap sound, because not only do you got to account for the running backs, you got to account for Jackson Dart's legs as well, too.
Right.
He's a mobile quarterback that can get out of there. C.J. Stroud not necessarily looking to run. Jackson Dart will get out of there and look to use his legs and make some plays. So we can't be flying up the field and leaving rush lanes for him to escape the pocket and make some big-time plays with his legs.
This goes back. I've been covering this team for 20 years now, James, and I'll go back to whether it was James, whether it was Richard Seymour, Tommy Kelly, those guys. All they would ever talk about on the defensive line was just do your job, have your one-on-one, let everybody else carry their own load, and then that's how you do it. From the other side of things now, the Raider offensive line seemed like they kind of figured things out. Who knew Alex Cappa was a quality center, at least for that game anyway? Caleb Rogers looks like a legitimate starter now, and again, it's a small sample size. But from the Raider running game, Ashton Jeanty having that monster game that he did. He had 188 total yards, the second most by a Raider rookie behind Bo Jackson. What does this Raider running game need to do to get going against this potentially stacked Giants defensive front?
Keep heading it off to Jeanty.
Yeah.
No, it's crazy because we had Jeanty on the show last night after the game. And I asked him, I said, for a receiver, you get 3 catches early in the game, you're in a rhythm. You know how the DB is playing you. You know where dudes are flying from you. So you know, hey, next time I catch it, I'm making this move. I'm in a groove now. It's slowing down. I said, how many carries does it take you? And he said, to be honest with you, 8 to 10. He said, once I get to 8 to 10, I know the flow of the linebackers. I know how fast they're coming downhill. I know what my linemen's doing. I got a feel for them. And now I'm able to kind of get myself in the groove. So I think for Ashton Jeanty, it's, hey, even if it might not be looking good early in the game, stick with it because he's going to get in the rhythm. Our O-line is going to keep leaning on people, and they are going to have to tackle him as the game gets going. So I think it's just keep on giving him the ball and giving him those carries, and I think eventually he'll spring one like he did yesterday for 50, 60 yards because, they couldn't tackle him.
And then how much more of a threat is he when he's able to come down and run with a catch and run for 60 yards down the sidelines and then give a stiff arm to a linebacker or a corner or a safety trying to tackle him as well? I mean, once he gets in that rhythm, like you said, it's about sticking with it. He's got a couple nicknames already, the Silver Surfer or Deuce. Now we'll just call him Stick With It.
Yeah. Stick with it. I love it. I mean, usually you don't like your running backs catching too many passes because you're like, hey, bro, leave that up to me. But we all know, right? Third down, when you 3rd and 4 or less, 99% of the time, every defense across the board is playing man-to-man. So Coach O knows that. So he was like, man, shoot, if we're able to kind of stay ahead of the sticks and stay in 3rd and 4 and 3rd and 3, we know we're getting man-to-man. So let's motion Jeanty out. Let's line Jeanty up out as a wide receiver, and we're going to get a linebacker on him. And let's take advantage of the one-on-ones. And we know he has good hands he could catch. And at the end of the day, he was drafted number 6 because he's not going to get tackled by one dude, and that is what he showed this past weekend.
Bittersweet because this is what a lot of fans, a lot of people covering the team expected to see early on. Again, he's only one of 5 rookies now with at least 1,000 combined yards. Marcus Allen, the first guy to do that back in 1982. Let's transition now, James. Wide receiver wisdom. Raiders pass catchers. You saw Bowers. You saw Tucker. You saw even Jack Besh catch a couple big passes. He got that 30-plus yarder that was there nice. What were your impressions on what the Raiders pass catchers were doing in Houston?
I loved it, and to be honest with you, the one that stuck out to me was Jack, man. I mean, you seen him getting some opportunities early and often, but not only that, I went back and I watched the game. I watched the game last night, and he's a good route runner. He's starting to get a feel for the game and how to sit down in certain holes. And, you could tell Geno has a good feel for him. Even watching the game yesterday, they had him outside, then they had him in the slot a little bit, and he was able to kind of work in the slot a little bit. So he's starting to impress me. He's starting to kind of look like he's getting in the rhythm of the game and getting a good feel for it and starting to slow down for him. So I'm looking forward to seeing, him get some more opportunities in this Giants game. But other than that, man, like I said before, I love the way Coach O moved Geno Smith. You got a couple easy completions to Trey Tucker and Brock Bowers, just moving him outside the pocket with the play design. I thought that was good. But when you talk about just making your one-on-one opportunity, I thought Jack Besh did a really good job this last weekend. And
maybe even more opportunities for him and the other guys too. The Giants are allowing 21.5 completions a game. That's the 12th most in the NFL. And their coverage grade of 50.1, that's the 7th worst in the NFL. So if they stick to this identity, run the ball, boom, things are going to start to pop open. And from the wisdom of a wide receiver like yourself, is that the identity you want to see here these last 2 games?
That's what I've been wanting to see. Start with the run game when you get off the bus, when you get off the plane, and let's start with the run, and then let's play action pass, and let's move the pockets. And receivers, hey, it's your job to win the one-on-ones. And if we can stay ahead of the sticks, like I said, we are going to get one-on-ones and go make the most of your opportunities. But I think that should be the formula for us to go out here and be able to put some points up and some yards up offensively.
Sounds good, James. James, as always, thanks for joining me and help me break down what just happened and what could potentially happen next week.
Anytime, my brother.
All right. Don't go anywhere. We've got Cynthia Frelund coming up next with her numbers to know.
Meet Max Out. He's a credit wrecker. His eyes are bigger than his wallet. And his credit score pays the price. You see, Max doesn't know he should only use 30% or less of his credit limit, because using his full line can lower his score. Don't be like Max Out. Instead, learn how to avoid the wreckers at creditwreckers.com. Credit One Bank, for what's ahead.
He's only one of 5 players in Raiders history with at least 140 tackles.
I want to see a team play with that energy and play with that effort.
That defensive end is the best edge against the run that we've seen since he entered the league.
Hey, welcome back to Upon Further Review. Joined, as always, Cynthia Frelund. Cynthia, the Raiders are coming off a 23-21 loss. And I dropped this on James Jones earlier, said there's no such thing as moral victories in the NFL, but there might actually be such a thing as a quality loss. What do you do?
I think that's a quality loss.
Well, yeah, how would you describe a quality loss for the Raiders against the Texans?
It looked like a chance to win. Now, it's kind of in this situation, it's kind of the best of both worlds, meaning you don't want to win games and mess up your ability to draft really early, but looking very functional like they looked, and the way that, I mean, it was so close to the end. That defense did not look like the league's #1 scoring defense. It did not look like something where, I mean, Ashton Jeanty just looked so dynamic, exciting. Of course, Brock Bowers is always dynamic and exciting. I don't know. It was a really fun game. And then you don't have that Monday morning quarterback being like, well, they shouldn't have won that game because, so it was actually the perfect loss.
So when you're talking about a perfect loss, you're talking about draft projections and draft slots, I'm assuming, and prospects that are out there. Mel Kiper's got Dante Moore from Oregon, the quarterback, #1. He's got Fernando Mendoza, Heisman Mendoza from Indiana, #2. A lot of potential things here. And now you got the Raiders playing host to the New York Football Giants. I love saying the Football Giants. What is at stake here in this game? When I was a kid, I remember the Repus Bowl. That was when the 2 worst teams in the league played each other. I'm not gonna say these are the 2 worst teams, but these teams are battling for the #1 pick in the NFL draft. So there's going to be kind of a very strange obsession with this game, if nothing else.
I mean, I love how obsessed anyone is with anything to do with the draft. I love the draft, so I get it. But ultimately, I'm looking to see in this game, Mike Kafka, he's having an opportunity to show what he can do, right? In general, he's had this for a couple of weeks now. It's been messy. Let's call it messy. I don't understand exactly what's gone on, changing defensive, like some weird rumors. So I think this is a chance for him to prove his case to be that it's an audition for his job. So that's kind of what's on the table for them. They have to make some decisions. Obviously Jackson Dart is someone who they're factoring in very heavily with the draft. So it's not necessarily about getting the first or second pick for them. I don't think that they're looking at it like that, because quarterback, if you're drafting in the top 5, you can maneuver around the chessboard to get who you want. I think this one's about who's going to be on the team going forward. Who is everyone building around? How does this inform our free agency strategy and thus our draft strategy, and how it all goes together? Because there is no such thing as an offseason in draft or free agency. You are constantly trying to make your team better. So this is a who's going to be a Raider, who's going to be a Giant in 2026.
Well, somebody we know is definitely going to be a Giant next year, you would think, is the Giants have their quarterback, Jackson Dart. How would you analyze what he's done? Because there seems to be a lot of action around him, so to speak, but not a lot of production in terms of wins and losses. How would you analyze Jackson thus far in his rookie season?
I think a lot of what the analysis has to be is about whatever the regime is going forward. Is this the guy who the head coach, offensive coordinator, and even the defensive coordinator, because I think the Giants need to really figure some things out and get coaching right. Is this are they surrounding him with the right cast of characters to be able to use they used a huge draft pick on him, so might as well be able to build around him? Is the O-line solid enough? How are they going to go forward? And with all of their planning, I mean, having a quarterback is one thing, being able to in the NFC East where, the Cowboys can't stay bad for long. The Eagles are obviously very good, even though they're not as good as we saw last year, maybe. Who knows? I don't know what I'm looking at from them. But ultimately, you're watching these things where you're like, all right, are they building for the future and making the most out of this rookie quarterback contract? Because, they have a good defensive front, but a lot of those guys have been getting hurt. I don't know. I'm very curious to see what their next steps are. There's always, just like with the Raiders, there's always a big microscope on what goes on with the brass at the Giants as well.
Yeah, and that doesn't just come because they're in New York. Actually, they're in New Jersey, but they're the New York Giants. And he's got all the personality as well. You got a personality now showing itself out on the Raider defense. Max Crosby obviously is the identity, not only of the team, but of the defense as a whole. Against the Texans, it was their 11th game with 5+ tackles for loss. They held Houston to less than 200 passing yards, only 83 rushing yards. What are you seeing from this Raiders defense in terms of its identity and how it can continue that momentum these last two games? Not only the last two games, really, but going into the offseason and going into next season.
It takes a very special player to have the kind of game that 98 has week in and week out, when you haven't necessarily been surrounded by the same cast of characters as, say, the team on the other side. Will Anderson Jr. gets Danielle Hunter. They have a secondary that really supports them. But Max has been kind of a one-man wrecking ball. And, we often say, like, the team takes on the identity of the coach. Well, I think that the defense takes on the identity of Max Crosby. And his mental fortitude to be able to stay so focused, so committed to the run game. A lot of these edge rushers in their contract, it says they get paid for sacks. They don't get paid to stop runs. I'm sure I don't know about Max's contract. I don't have purview to that, but I'm sure there's a sack number in there for extra money. But he goes out and crushes the run game too, which, some guys at this point, I can see other players across the league who aren't giving it 100% on every single down. And that's not 98 ever.
Right.
Ever. Never once seen that.
Yeah, I'm old enough to remember when Max first came in the league and he was kind of seen as the freewheeler. And he was the guy that wasn't all that good against the run. Now he's one of, if not the best against the run.
The best at his position against the run.
Yeah, so now I've got my pen and I'm ready. I'm taking my notes here. It's the time of the show where I'm always looking forward to, especially, what is your number to know for this matchup between the Raiders and the New York Football Giants?
32, as in last, not Marcus Allen. This is the opposite of a Marcus Allen version of 32 because it is the ranking that the Giants defense is against outside runs. I have watched all season long and basically wire to wire all of the metrics that matter. So explosive runs allowed, yards per rush allowed, the number of times that they've stuffed is the worst. All of those rank last, 32. So run to the outside. That's the prescription right here. Take advantage of the fact that they're just going to let you run to the outside. I don't know why. I don't know. I'm not on their defensive coordinating staff, but it's been something we've seen all season long. And I can imagine there's one feisty little rookie that could make some big noise on the outside, especially because 32nd is also where they rank in missed tackles. And our guy Ashton Genty likes to force missed tackles.
So unless I'm wrong, 32nd, ranked 32. There's only 32 teams in the NFL, Cynthia.
That's last.
That's last. Dead last.
And it's been last all pretty much wires. Maybe week one it wasn't last, but wire to wire once we've had enough data to even consider it a relevant average. And I promised the Giants defense that I would call them out on this every single week until they stopped it. And they have literally said it every single week for, since week 5. So, I got to keep my promises,
Always, especially during the holiday season. So note to Greg Olson, get Ashton Genty in space on the outside and go from there.
Perfect.
Done. Cynthia, thank you so much. You can check out all of Cynthia's numbers to know on the Raiders official YouTube page, also on Raiders.com. Cynthia, thank you so much for joining me. Happy holidays to you and yours.
Happy holidays.
Hey, that'll do it for this week's edition of Upon Further Review. Thanks to our guests, James Jones and Cynthia Frelund, for previewing this Sunday's home game against the New York Giants at Allegiant Stadium. To stay up to date on all things silver and black, check out our shows and watch them all on our YouTube channel and visit Raiders.com for more content. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, Mele Kalikimaka, and Feliz Navidad.